Hey everyone, over at Intel, there's a new boss. Is it the same as the old boss? We're going to discuss it. You're watching Techstrong, gang. Hi everyone, happy Friday. Good morning to you. This is Alan Schimmel, and I'm coming to you live, well, semi-live. I'm alive when I did this. I'm in Orlando. I'm at SUSECon. I'm going to be doing a report on it as one of the segments today. It's been a great week of cloud native and open and all kinds of great stuff. But we've got a lot more than that to talk about. As usual, it's been another busy week, and today's a great news day. Let me introduce you to our gang for today. It's a lot of the regulars. Number one, I guess as usual, we'll go to the West Coast, where we have our roving marketing pro, radio host, all around knowledgeable person, the one and only Lisa Martin. Hey, Lisa, how are you?
Hey, Alan, doing great.
Good. It's good to have you on. Joining Lisa out in the Valley or the Bay Area or whatever you want to call it. I know some folks are ashamed to be part of the Silicon Valley community these days. He is our editor at large there, John Swartz. Hey, John, how are you?
I'm good. Won't get fooled again. I like the reference. Glad to be here.
It's glad to have you on. And then joining us from, it could be a data center capital of the East, Hudson, Ohio. Well, near Columbus anyway. He's the founder, CEO over at Tech Field Day, our friend Stephen Foskett. Good morning, Stephen. How are you?
Good morning. It's nice to be here on a day that nothing important happened in the tech industry.
Yeah, like that ever happens. And then from Ohio, we'll continue east to the wilds of Westchester County, way up in Harrison, upstate New York. Our Chief Content Officer, Mike Vizard.
Where the resale value of Yankee tickets are dropping by the minute.
Like a rock, like a rock. Yep. All right. Well, look, injuries happen. Yeah.
You could say you guys got a lump of coal.
No. Cole had a lump in his elbow. That was the problem. But anyway, let's talk about the news, because sports, between that and the Steelers not having a quarterback, I'm depressed. I referenced it in the tease. Intel announced a new head honcho today. I guess the interim co-CEO model wasn't going on forever. Mike, why don't you take us here?
Yeah, people have been waiting for this for a while now. It's kind of been roughly equivalent to waiting for the Vatican to elect the new pope, and some smoke finally came out of the Intel headquarters. But John, you've been following this? What's going on?
Well, kudos to you, Mike. Eagle-eyed Mike Vizard finds it on the wire immediately as soon as it happens. So Intel has its fourth CEO in 7 years. That doesn't count the co-CEOs, by the way. So Lip Bhutan is the new CEO. He was on the board of Intel. He quit the board last year. Now he's back on the board. He is the CEO. He was previously the CEO of Cadence Design. And, he takes over essentially this battered, troubled company. I was writing the story on Deadline. I didn't have enough time to mention all the problems they're facing right now, but I'll just recap a few of them. They're late and stumbling in the AI market against NVIDIA, AMD, Qualcomm, you name it. Sales are declining. The stock is badly bruised. There's threats of killing off the CHIPS Act. There's a delay in a major Ohio plant that they showed off last year, I believe, with Gelsinger and Joe Biden. They're in the process of laying off 15,000 people, and they're weighing the idea of either spinning off its foundry business and or selling its products division, which includes the servers and PC chips. I briefly talked with Daniel Newman, and I know Stephen talked with them, and Stephen will add even more to this. But Daniel says he expects the move to jumpstart discussion of the split of the foundry business, as well as a focus on reduced spending on resources and projects. He mentioned that Lip-Bu is known to support a split off of the foundry. There's also another interesting thing that Reuters reported late last night, that Intel's foundry business may be operated by TSMC in a joint venture with NVIDIA, AMD, and Broadcom, whom it has invited to take stakes in the business. So there's a lot going on. There's a lot to process. And this is a company that's clearly in trouble. And I don't envy Mr. Tan and the task he faces.
Stephen,
Yeah,
I know
Stephen
that
would-
you had a podcast about the CHIPS Act, and I know you've been kind of following this whole thing, but what's your take on what's going on here?
Yeah, we've been following the CHIPS Act really closely on the Gestalt I2, now called Tech Field Day News Rundown, which is our Wednesday show. And we, frankly, the topic of Wednesday, this week's show, was what the heck about canceling the CHIPS Act. Then this comes out, and as John mentioned as well, the rumors of a joint venture. Now, those JV rumors actually came out earlier as well. Dan and Pat Moorhead were talking about that too. That these rumors have been swirling for a while. But in talking to Dan and kind of catching up on Pat's coverage overnight of this, there seems to be some interesting I don't know, smoke signals here. So as John mentioned, Lip-Bu was on the Intel board. The rumor is, and this is something that I learned from Pat Moorhead, that Lip-Bu was specifically had a falling out with Gelsinger in August over the idea of splitting the Intel Foundry business in some way. And Lip-Bu resigned from the board, apparently, rumor has it, because Pat stuck in and said, no, we're not spinning it off. And Lip-Bu said, yes, we are. So I think that's a pretty heavy, if that's true, then that's a pretty heavy smoke signal of what's going to happen next. The other thing that I learned in talking to Dan Newman is that Lip-Bu is absolutely very, very well respected in the industry. He's maybe not quite as much of a nerd as Pat was in terms of a real techie's tech, but this guy's got an engineering degree from MIT. He's the real deal. And having been in charge of Cadence for almost 2 decades, if people aren't aware of Cadence, they're the company that makes the software that people use to design chips. The thing that Intel needed to do to make IDF successful was have companies like Cadence support their manufacturing processes. So Lip-Bu would be in a really unique position to understand the Intel prospective customers for the foundry business. And I think that is another really key indicator. This is somebody who knows Intel, who absolutely knows the business. He understands the perspective of the customers that would be using the foundry business. He also understands the perspective of the other Intel, which is the one that designs and sells all sorts of different types of chips. All of this bodes well for Intel, and the stock market certainly agrees. But I would say that combine that with Trump's surprise in his not State of the Union announcing that he wanted to kill the CHIPS Act, all of this suggests bye-bye Intel as a unified company. They've got to split. And I think that what's going to happen is we're going to have something like the rumored consortium deal where maybe Intel still holds 51% of it, but companies like TSMC, like AMD and some of the others invest in it as well, and it becomes really a separate business. Whether Intel even remains a majority shareholder or not, it remains to be seen. But I see no indication. There's no situation where Intel doesn't split the foundry business, and Columbus isn't the crown jewel in that business.
Okay.
Lisa, what's the mood in the Valley out there? Because you're out there with John. What are you hearing from folks about, because Intel was always kind of, the Valley, or at least the southern part of it for a long time. What's going on?
Yeah, we're hearing just kind of shock and awe yesterday at the announcement of Lip-Bu. You guys did a great job of recapping what's going on. Obviously, shares falling, in process of shedding 115,000 rather jobs. One of the things that we know about Lip-Bu is that he has a relentless attention to customers. Stephen, you mentioned it, their huge customer base. I want to understand from Intel customers what they're thinking. If Gelsinger was here and Lip-Bu is here from a split perspective, where are the customers? Where are they going to be supportive? If the new CEO coming in, the regime is so supportive of customers, then listen to that feedback and help that drive the next steps. I think that's kind of what we're hearing in the Valley right now.
So guys, I've got some thoughts on this. First of all, Mike, that smoke you see coming out of the stovepipe, I don't know if it indicates they've elected a new leader or they're just burning the house down. I'm reminded of a cartoon I saw yesterday about Homo sapiens, humans having to stop work on the wheel because the Neanderthals are back in power. We got to wait until their term is over. And clearly, this is a regime change, and it's an anti-Gelsinger kind of move. This seems like Lip-Bu was the head of the anti-Gelsinger faction on the board that did not, that wanted to break the Intel business into two. On the CHIPS Act, Donald Trump can bellow and bluster all he wants. I believe that was an act of Congress that created it and allocated the money. And I believe it's only an act of Congress that'll stop that. And because it is financially involved, I don't know if filibuster Senate rules come into play. And I'd be very interested to see that new senator from Ohio bet against them or vote against them opening that plant up in Columbus with the CHIPS Act money.
New senators from Ohio, because the other guy got a different job. I'm not sure what he's doing now, but yeah.
Okay, so 2 new senators. So that's the second thing. Third thing, I'm listening to that lineup of JV partners there. What the hell happened to America First? I don't see an American company. Well, Broadcom is
AMD,
theoretically an American
NVIDIA.
company.
AMD,
yes.
NVIDIA, they're Broadcom, they're all American companies.
Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah.
Wait, didn't you hear that TMSC is an American company now too? Because they're moving manufacturing.
Oh yeah, they're moving everything to the United States too, as well in Arizona,
Lock,
right?
stock, and barrel. You know what?
Intel. Can I mention something quickly? So, if years and years ago, one of the questions I always wanted to ask Steve Jobs are, who are the companies that you really admire in the Valley? Intel was usually in that group. There were only about 3 or 4. Intel at this point, and I just want to point that they are kind of considered a shadow. They are a shadow of what they used to be. That didn't used to be Intel. And I almost kind of want to see what's happening with them and AI is the same thing. And I know you talked about this earlier in the week. Is the same thing that's happening with Apple. These old guard companies that are just not innovative, who can't keep up, who can't pivot. This is what happens to them. And this is going to be a fallout.
Yeah. But John, that's the old story of the tortoise and the hare. It's early in the AI game.
That's
right?
true. That's true.
At this stage of the search engine thing, I was betting on Alta Vista and Excited Home. Right?
Wow.
I never heard of that
Yeah.
other crazy company from Stanford. So
all I got to say is, where's Lee Iacocca when you need him? Because I feel like this is all going to be a bailout for the semiconductor
Here's the
industry
thing,
in the
though.
US.
If I'm a businessman, and I am a businessman, and I look at some of the strategic assets that Intel still retains and some of the market share that they retain, and then I would caution or send you all over to the Signal 65 website, a Futurum company that does lab testing, and take a look at the recent tests they did on the Intel AI chips and how that stacks up to NVIDIA, GPUs and stuff. Don't count Intel out of the AI game. This is it's a marathon, not a sprint. And
Great point.
Intel still has a lot of assets.
And you can say the same about Apple. I know they've been getting a lot of bad press about their Siri, their smart Siri, but it's the same deal. Intel and Apple are right in there. This is not a finished space by any means, and there's still a lot of.
I would play their hands any day. I'd be happy to have their hands versus some of the others out there. So I think that's the lesson here. It's a shame to see an American institution like Intel being chopped up this way, but quite frankly, the foundry, the whole separate foundry from look, this is a script that Hewlett-Packard has played 4 times, I think, or 3 times, right? This is right out of Silicon Valley Playbook 101. We'll split the company in 2 or 6 or 7. Anyway, hey, we're on a short schedule today, so we need to move on. We're going to take a break here on Techstrong Gang. We'll be back. I think we're talking nuclear reactors. How exciting.
Discover Techstrong Group, the epicenter of tech innovation. We're your go-to for reaching IT leaders and practitioners worldwide. Our secret? Impactful content that sparks awareness, engagement, and top quality leads. With us, You'll access editorial websites, streaming videos, virtual events, custom content, analyst research, and more. Join our satisfied clients. Let's revolutionize your tech journey. Contact us today and tell your story to the world in the most powerful way with Techstrong Group.
Hey folks, we're back, and just as Alan said, we're going to talk about nuclear energy. A lot of the big tech companies got together and said that by 2050, I think it is, that they hope to be using nuclear energy to drive all kinds of IT services. Seems like a long, long way off to me, but Stephen, what's your take on, is this really going to happen, or is this kind of like, I'm pounding my chest and I'm going to go kick some ass as soon as I get off this couch?
Did you guys invite me on just to be the punching bag? Because I think you might have. Okay. No, this is definitely 100% not happening. And it is entirely, every aspect of this story is misguided. So first off, 2050, no, you have no idea what 2050 is going to be like. Number one, okay? Let's just put that aside. Let's say the 2030s, absolutely not. Nuclear energy, unfortunately. Now, here's the thing. The sad thing is that nuclear fission should be powering all of AI with cleanish energy and affordable energy and reliable energy today. But it's not going to happen because the 1970s happened. And essentially, the entire world has turned against nuclear energy to the extent that even in places like China that are actively building nuclear energy, the permitting process, the requirements around building large nuclear plants make it much, much, much more expensive than it ought to be. Nuclear energy is literally 2 or 3 times more expensive than wind or solar. Wind or solar is not a 24/7 energy source, but nuclear is still much more expensive than burning more coal or burning more natural gas. That is a problem for businesses, and it's also a problem for anyone who's interested in reducing the reliance on fossil fuels. Now, the next part of this story is this whole small modular reactor thing. We heard Trump mention that in his campaign pitch, as that SMR was somehow going to be a thing. I'm not sure who told him about it because I doubt that he knows anything about it. But here's the problem with small modular reactors. They don't exist. You might as well say that flying cars are going to solve our traffic problem. And you could say, but Stephen, there are flying cars. There was one at CES. Well, we don't know. Small modular reactors exist as much as that CES flying car exists. They exist as much as the Aptera, the wonderful, cool, solar-powered electric, cool thing. It's not flying, but these are almost entirely theoretical. They're still in the lab. There's no such things. And then this whole idea that there would be micro nuclear reactors that are somehow safe, that is a dream. Yes, the Boring Company is going to solve all the traffic in LA. If you buy that, then maybe you buy that microreactors are going to power these data centers. The bottom line is that none of this is real, and none of it is going to happen because nuclear. Okay, now pile on.
Okay,
I'm
no.
gonna go first.
Can I just say one thing really quick? I'll get out of the way.
Go ahead.
2050 was the tell sign for me, just like Stephen. When I saw that, I thought this is total BS. This is a marketing kind of a statements that I read from each of the companies, Google, Amazon, and I believe it was a third one. Was it Microsoft?
Yeah, I hope I'm not dead by
Meta.
2050,
Excuse me,
but I might be.
It was Meta. Yeah, so we had Amazon, Google, and Meta with these self-serving comments. We're going to be providing all this clean energy to suck up all these AI energy demands, and we're going to triple it by 2050. It's like triple it from what? The whole thing is very kind of fishy, but I agree with you, Stephen. I got your back on this one.
So let me jump in here. Oh, go ahead, Lisa.
I was just going to say Microsoft wants to restart 3 Mile Island. That announcement came out with them partnering with Constellation Energy back in, I believe it was August or September, and the value's going,
we covered
what?
it.
Yep. And that's at least reasonable and practical and doable. But the cost that Microsoft is paying for that electricity, no kidding, 2x the prevailing cost for electricity.
Yes. All right. So guys, a couple of things. First of all, I think they picked 2050 because it's going to take us that long to start embracing sustainable energy again after the damage that this administration does to the whole concept of sustainable energy. Well, we got a guy who can cut down, regulation and stuff like that and make it happen, right? Sell cars on the White House lawn. But I got one word for you folks. Thorium. Thorium. China made an announcement yesterday. They fired up their first thorium nuclear reactor. Now, this comes on the heels of China announcing that they found enough thorium salt in Inner Mongolia to power their energy needs for the next 60,000 years. You know who else are the world's leading countries of reserves of thorium deposits? The US, Australia, India, and Brazil. What's thorium, you ask? Well, thorium is a substitute for uranium, right? It's a salt. It's a molten salt. To power your nuclear reaction, you no longer need to cool it with water. It's meltdown proof. It produces a fraction of the radioactive nuclear waste that uranium-based processors do. And you know what? If China has a working model of this, I'm sure we can get together a working model of this. I've always, look, not that we didn't have problems in nuclear. I'm a child of 3 Mile Island, and we saw what happened in Chernobyl in Japan. But just because you didn't get it right then doesn't mean we can't get it right going forward. And thorium could be the answer. And if so, we could probably generate enough energy without fossil fuels here for most of the industrialized world for the next thousands of years. And it could be viable. I'd say that's a worthy goal and a worthy project for us to do something here in the US about, because China's doing it.
I got
It's
20 bucks
worth
that says
investigating.
Elon Musk will announce a thorium-powered Tesla in 4 months.
SoftBank's investing in it too, by the way.
And it runs at 6.4 kilowatts, right? Come on,
No,
Dr. Brown.
it really is worth investigating. And again, I'm not going to be a complete Debbie Downer on this, because you're right, Alan. Theoretically, thorium absolutely solves most of the problems that we've had with uranium-powered nuclear reactors. It is absolutely true. And the other truth is that, unexpected science innovations can happen quickly. Look at NAND flash, look at the LED. These things didn't exist the day I was born, and today they are everywhere, and we rely on them. Quantum technology, quantum chips haven't worked, but let me tell you, quantum photonics is working really, really well. So it is absolutely possible that in 2050, we could be using small modular thorium reactors that sit on top of our Tesla branded cars. It's also likely that Elon Musk could come up with, I don't know, let's call it NukeX, his next venture, and making small modular reactors, and get a bunch of government funding for that. I just don't see it happening anytime soon, and I don't see it moving the needle. I think this is a scapegoat from the AI companies to offset the fact that they're using too much energy. It's too fossil fuel powered, and they really don't want to do the hard work to use solar.
And
Stephen,
why are
I
they
just want to say,
investing so much billions? And like Amazon and Google and Microsoft have invested billions in nuclear energy facilities. So why are they investing those billions in that if they don't think this is potentially viable?
I think it's a backstop. I think it's a
Well, it's good. It's a good story.
and,
They're
and
do-gooders.
just because I said I'm going to do something doesn't mean I'm actually going to
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah, I think there's the traces of all these manufacturing facilities that are going to be built over the next 4 years, like Stargate and et cetera. They just throw these numbers out. What they actually do is another matter.
So, guys, at one of the keynotes here on Tuesday, I think it was, they had several data center operators who are SUSE partners come up, and they talked about what the energy needs of a multi-gigawatt data center are, right? Because keep in mind, the average house uses, I think, 2 kilowatts. A half a rack of moderate NVIDIA, not the newest ones, Brookstone, whatever they are, but the moderate NVIDIA, a half a rack of that. If a house uses 2 kilowatts, a half a rack uses 2 megawatts of power and generates enough heat that air alone won't cool it. You need some sort of liquid cooling, forced air, something. And it goes up from there, obviously. So I'm telling you that if we have any hope of supplying these data centers that all these people are talking about, and we spoke about the whole data center building boom earlier the week, we got to find something that's going to do it, right? We need some breakthroughs here. We need, the moon mission resulted in a whole bunch of breakthroughs, the least of which, or maybe not, was Tang. But the instant breakfast train. But I'm kidding. But we need technology breakthroughs in order to get through that logjam. So where there's a will, there's a way. Necessity is the mother of invention. And that is what really made America great. Because when we have problems like this, we figure out solutions. We don't bluster. We don't nonsense and all of this other stuff or try to take over other countries. We innovate, we out-innovate, and we come up with solutions to problems. And I still think that that's the engine that drives this country.
Hey, Stephen,
Vote for
before
me.
we end this topic, I just want to say how much it hurts me that you think we might invite you up here to be a punching bag, no matter how true that is.
Well, I will be your punching bag any day, especially when it involves.
Stephen, I
energy.
never think of you as a punching bag, Stephen. I know I could always count on you to toe the line there. Anyway, hey, let's take a break here on Techstrong Gang. We're going to come back with our third block, and I think I'm going to talk about SUSECON a little bit. You're watching Techstrong Gang.
SecurityBoulevard.com is the leading resource for news, analysis, and education on challenges facing the cybersecurity industry. SecurityBoulevard.com covers all aspects of cybersecurity, including data security, DevSecOps, cloud security, application security, network security, security threats, and more. SecurityBoulevard.com has the largest selection of security content, featuring breaking news, blog posts, podcasts, and more. Visit www.securityboulevard.com to learn more. SecurityBoulevard.com, home of Security Bloggers Network.
Hey, folks, we're back. And as Alan alluded to, every now and again, we have somebody who goes to one of these shows, and SUSECON is the latest, and they give us a field report of what's going on. Alan, you're the designated attendee at this show for SUSECON. So is SUSE stepping out of the shadow of all these other open source companies? What's going on?
So if I'm now I know why I haven't been drinking. I'm the designated attendee. Anyway, it's a funny thing about SUSE, right? So, they are, to me, the stereotypical European country, right? Very, they're based in Luxembourg, obviously for tax purposes, but they're a German company and they have that very German stoic sort of way. Their marketing is usually understated, very factual, not flashy or fancy. You could see, I don't know how much you could see of my background here, but their slogan is choice happens. And that's what they've been. They've been an amazing member of the open source community for many years. Their Linux is everything they do is all of their products are respected, if not market leaders. But I got to tell you guys, I've been here. I've met with most of their leadership. I've met with a lot of partners, a lot of customers. We have videos that'll be on Techstrong TV of this. I'm telling you, SUSE is positioned to be the cloud native powerhouse. If I'm Red Hat, get worried. And I'll tell you why. The last couple of years, they've done a bunch of different acquisitions, starting with Rancher, the Rancher OS and the Rancher Kubernetes. distro, New Vector for security, Stack State for observability. And I saw something, a demo, not really a demo, but a diagram of what they're calling their DevX design framework. I think it's framework. I have an article on Cloud Native now that you could read about this. And I felt like Dave Marsh when he saw Bruce Springsteen in the mid 70s. I've seen the future of Cloud Native, and it's SUSE. They've put together A to Z, soup to nuts package where you've got your underlying Linux, you've got your underlying K8s, Kubernetes, whether you're running it public cloud, private cloud, vEdge, bare metal. They have the other Rancher project, not K8s, I think it's K3 or K4, whatever, like a smaller a smaller footprint. They've now married that though, where they've created their own SUSE repo or SUSE registry. They've taken the most popular open source projects, SUSEified them in that they slimmed down any extraneous, unnecessary packages, kept them open. They check them for security. They scan them, repackage them, and make them available to the SUSE customer base. They're open. Anyone can use them. You don't have to buy them. But now you don't have to worry about the danger of downloading apps and components in the wild from a GitHub or whatever. They're securing those. Really nice thing. Then on top of that, the whole new vector piece keeps your cloud native infrastructure compliant and secure, of course, with EU regulations as well as just general good security. And then the Stack State piece, which is now SUSE observability, really lets you manage the whole thing, pre-deployment, post-deployment, everything you want from a great observability solution. But it's SUSE. It's SUSE still. If any of those parts doesn't tickle your fancy and you want to replace it with the pure open source or with another solution, you could plug that right in as well. Now, I'm telling you, I've been following the cloud native space for many years. At Cloud Native now, before it was called Container Journal, we're doing this, 7, 8, 9 years. I've only seen one other company that has this stack A to B, right? And that's a company that IBM bought, right? And since IBM bought them, Red Hat is a great tool for the IBM consultants to sell. But, in terms of innovation, well, they're doing some stuff with AI. I think SUSE is going to give them a run for their money. They know they got the goods too, and I think you're going to see a very different marketing approach from them going forward. I'm really bullish on SUSE.
Let me play devil's advocate here, because one of the criticisms of SUSE and all those cloud native companies.
He wants to make me the punching bag. Go ahead.
I'll hold you down.
There you go. But the issue is it's the CNCF landscape is the physical representation of this issue, right? There's so many pieces and components that you're supposed to stitch together that people get overwhelmed, and nothing is quite integrated as well as it should be. And over time, I wind up hiring a small army of people to maintain this snowflake of a platform I've created. And then I'm either locked into various components or I'm terrified to replace anything or add anything because it's going to break.
But that's the beauty of this DevX platform. It takes the hard work of going through the 200 CNCF projects. It works with Helm charts. It works with all the usual suspects, but that's all behind the little green chameleon that is SUSE. And, I think it really does. It takes exactly what you're talking about, Mike. This is the solution for it. But if you still want to go play in that open source wonderland, have at it. But you don't have to. SUSE has brought it all together for you in a secure, manageable, commercially scalable way. And I think that's what this market needs.
Did you hear anybody talking about platform engineering while you were there?
Yes. because who is this DevX platform aimed at? DevOps team, platform engineers, security people, and of course developers. And the platform engineers are going to love what SUSE has in terms of setting up your platform to go fast and secure. And by the way, while here, I spoke to HPE and Dell and AWS and Portworx and a bunch of your other strategic partners. And they are also all in on this. They think, this really is going to be a big deal for cloud native.
All right. My money says that other people will go build platforms that we're going to see a roll up of all these companies that are providing these little widgets that are on the side of these things. And it will be platform versus platforms, but there'll be more than two.
I don't, there are a few companies that have the breadth to do this at scale. Red Hat, certainly one of them. I think SUSE is in. Also remember, SUSE was a public company that a PE took private, but it wasn't the usual PE, let's take it and sell the parts like Gordon Gekko, right? They've actually invested a lot into SUSE, and they're doing things that aren't necessarily quarter to quarter that a public company has to live with. And look, I'll stand by my words. I'm bullish.
All right.
Fair? All right, guys.
And
If that's,
if
sorry, Mike.
if you could go to Las Vegas and bet on SUSE, I think your chips are all in, right?
I never go all in on anything. All right. If no one has anything else, I'm going to lock this up because I've got people waiting in my green room here to do more videos. I'll be here through the end of the day doing videos. I will be back on the gang on Monday. I won't be on Friday. Mike, if I don't speak to you before then, have a great St. Patrick's Day.
Will do, man.
I know it's the highlight of the year for you.
It's on a Monday, which means it's a 3-day weekend. So there you go.
Absolutely. You know what? I met the Dell CTO for EMEA. I interviewed. I have to introduce you to him. Really nice fella named I think it's Brian O'Ryan or O'Regan. Brian O'Regan. He's invited us to Ireland to come see what Dell's doing out there. I said I got just the guy to do it.
I think we're gonna have to open up the worldwide Irish DevOps chapter.
And you're the president. All right.
It's the bureau.
Hey,
New bureau.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Stephen, John, Lisa, Mike, for joining us on a somewhat shortened version of the gang today. As usual, we have a full Techstrong TV lineup following this, so stay tuned for that. We will be back Monday with some really great, fresh content. Until then, I'm Alan Schimmel, everyone. Have a great weekend. We're out.